One, two, three.
Welcome to Scéalta. My name is Joe Austin, and can I remind you that Scéalta is a joint production of Fáilte Fiersta here in Féile An Phobail. Can I also thank RSC Connolly of the Connolly Centre for facilitating these interviews. And on behalf of me and my guests, can I wish us all a very happy International Women's Day. Probably one of the most important days of any given year. So whatever you're doing today, enjoy it. And remember that the battle for equality continues after today. So my guest today is a leading GAA, a rising GAA star. So it's Cathy Carey. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Okay, so you are the captain of the Antrim Ladies Football Team.
Yeah.
And I have to apologise because I know very little about any sport, and you can tell by the shape of me that I do that to my cost. But I see you've came in your colours. Are they your colours?
Yeah, so these are my club colours.
Moneyglass.
I have my Antrim top underneath, just in case I need it. One of the two. Moneyglass is where I'm from, born and bred, and playing them for them as long as I can remember. And then county, the same actually. As long as you're able to play county, that's how long I played for. So I've been around a while.
So Moneyglass, for anybody that doesn't know, I know Moneyglass.
Yeah.
It's the centre of the universe.
It is.
But other strangers mightn't know. So where is Moneyglass if you were trying to give directions?
So it's about 35 minutes-ish, depending how quickly you go down the motorway, towards Toom Bridge. So a couple of minutes outside Toom Bridge, really. So it's a small wee area, very nice area, quite green compared to the city.
Quite picturesque.
Yeah, yeah, you could say that.
I said about your involvement. It is no exaggeration that you're a leading GAA star. So I know you're modest about it, but we've got our own sources, and we're convinced that we're right. Have you always been involved? What is your GAA history?
It goes way back now. The whole family are kind of involved in the club, so you're always about the club. I played for the boys up until you were allowed to, up until about under 14. But before that, my older sisters played, and I tortured the oldest one to let me go to senior training all the time. So I'd always go kick about whenever I was younger, like I taught. And then from there, I managed to squeeze my way into the odd drill and then the odd training, and then gradually made my way onto the team at quite a young age. So from there, it's just been all go. Every turnaround, play camogie as well, so I've managed to add it into the calendar wherever I can, and yeah, it's had its ups and downs, but it's all been very worth it. Playing is very, very good, and
Was Cathy Carey destined to be the captain? Are you competitive? Are you?
If anybody knows me, they'll know I'm a very, very sore loser. I don't like losing at anything really, but in the same token, I'll put as much into it as I try and get out of it. When you say destined, I just worked hard and tried to commit to everything as much as I could do. And I've been playing county seniors for about, scared to say it, about 19-ish year, because we started whenever we were very young back then. You wouldn't start at 12, 13 years old now, but then it was a wee bit different. So yeah, I've had plenty of seasons under the belt, and the same with Moneyglass is out there too. So it's been a long enough road, but you're a long time retired, apparently.
I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you this, but every time you say Moneyglass, your eyes light up. So you're obviously very proud of your local team. And of course, the area you come from. Is that part of what the GAA is built on? Team pride, community pride?
It's parish kind of pride. Yeah, I think so. It's because you play with the people that live next door, live down the road, or you went to school with, and all that there. So it becomes really, and the GAA does pride itself on being a family kind of institution, whatever you want to call it. Whenever you go as a team, a club team, even a county team, it's girls from, you're no more than 30 minutes away from most of those girls that you play county with. So yeah, you create a good bond, and then it becomes a lot harder you end up committing because you commit to the people around you. and that there's what the GAA kind of prides itself on, is the people that are involved in it. They're all amateurs, they're all playing for the jersey.
Well, when we decided that you were going to be one of our victims, we started making phone calls about you and asking a wee bit about you and all of that. Nothing that would be, well, not really embarrassing.
Right.
But we were told this story, which I don't believe, that at one particular training session, you were shouting across to someone, "Look at me, look at..." Is that true?
That's the wrong twist. So look at me. We were having a really like relaxed training session. We were playing like sevens football, and we were running up the pitch, and I can be quite vocal at times on the pitch, just calling and stuff like that there. And at the time, I can't remember how long ago it was now, but there was a
long time ago.
There was a lot of girls that were older than me there and took the hand out of me. And one person passed it another, and I was like, "Look at such and such, look at such and such." And then I was the next pass, and I was like, "Look at me," and then the whole thing broke. And I like, still, if anybody says "look at me," it's like, "Oh, look at me," but it was never in like a "look at me" way.
No, of course it wasn't.
Obviously, it was twisted around that way.
Well, you see, when you said about that bond with players and trainers and all that, I couldn't leave that out.
Aye.
Because the bond extends to joking with each other, and
yeah.
You know, we talk about, and when you talk about that kind of love for sport and all of that, it's very demanding. Like, so what would a week of sport be, between training and all of that?
It depends the time of year, but you're pretty much nearly every night, and then there's nights I be in work as
Break
well.
it down for me, because I don't know what that means. Every night from
say
training?
A Monday night would generally be, like in season, would be our league game. A Tuesday night we have county training. Wednesday night you have your club training. Thursday night, sometimes split myself. I take her on a 14 team. And then our camogie matches are on a Thursday night. So sometimes you have to balance between the two of them, where you have to go to and stuff. Friday night's county night. Saturday is, I work on a Saturday, but we don't normally train on a Saturday. Depending on come out of the championship and stuff, you might have the odd Saturday session, and then the likes of Sunday's generally a county day at this time of year. So yesterday I was away in Leitrim all day. So I know whenever you break it down, it is a lot of time.
and in the middle of all of that, you're allowed to squeeze some hours into work.
Yep.
And you work as a trainer.
Yeah.
So you're not really, you don't get your head cleared as such.
Yeah, but they work hand in hand too, because I'm actually a PE teacher by trade. That's what I'm qualified in, and then I, for the past 3.5 years, have worked in Ampersand Fitness in Toom, and yeah, you kind of balance your early mornings. You might get a nap. Anybody, I take a wee nap in the middle of the day, and then because you're all go that evening again. So yeah, you definitely have to squeeze in your work there too.
You're not the only one that takes a wee nap during the day. I think half of the staff in RSD Canada take a wee nap half of the day.
When they're in work.
When they're at work. You talked about nearly being born into the sport and born into the family of the GAA. Were you always going to be, and I know you're a teacher by trade, you're a PE teacher by trade,
yeah.
Or by profession, I should say. Was that always what you wanted to do? I mean, was there ever any distractions or any doubt that your life was going to be GAA and that kind of physical aspect of?
No, I don't think so. Whenever I was, because I got involved, it was kind of, I went to St Mary's in Marfield, and they have a real rich camogie history. There's loads of football in it now, which is great, but at that stage I was starting to take teams, and I was helping out with school teams, helping out with club teams and all, so you're already getting into the coaching side of things. And then I loved PE at school, obviously, but I did love the exam kind of side of PE too, so that led me down the teaching PE route. But it's not far off. You're coaching a class, it's different. You don't have pupils to deal with. You have kids' classes and stuff like that there, but I always seen myself down that kind of coaching, fitness, exercise, health side of it, yeah.
Has the role for women in the GAA changed a great deal? I know probably quite recently there's been some some changes, but over the years, even from you as a young woman, a young girl, have you seen that women are treated better, or they're still fighting their corner?
Well, just what you said there, it is better. At a couple of stages, it couldn't get much worse in terms of getting pitches and gear and buses and things like that there. It's definitely got a lot better, but there's probably still a wee way to go. Getting pitches is hard, you know, just like the priority of who gets pitches and things like that there. But no, it's definitely on the right tracks. I was actually at Congress, the LGFA Congress, at the weekend there, and the GAA one had theirs a couple of weekends ago, I think, and the chat of integration, so integrating the GAA, LGFA and Camogie. So the motion was passed at the GAA Congress and the LGFA one to start the process of integration to get the three working off level pagans, I suppose.
Will that give women players? Will it give them more access to pitches, to schedules, to that you're not kind of the back of the queue?
Yeah, like the president actually alluded to it. He was like, no matter what, there's always going to be a higher demand for pitches than there is, but it's what it's chatting about, like the priority, as in the male and female senior county squads get to use their county ground, or you know, things like that there. The same funding goes into both. They're starting to try and match the funding or whatever, but this was probably the first year we got funding from the GPA. Done a lot of work to get the ladies Gaelic funding, so that was a massive drive from them, like, and the LGFA are working really hard, getting massive sponsors. Lidl are doing great, you know, just you know, things like that have happened in the past number of years where you've been like, they're really moving on, but there seems to be loads of girls involved in it, and it's great to see, so it's just keeping them.
I have family members, granddaughters who would be involved, and a daughter who would be very keen GAA supporters. Women and young girls at training, I've been at my granddaughter's training, Salam Jarg.
Right, brilliant.
There seems to be hundreds of young people. Is that generally the response right across the family, the GAA family?
Yeah, I think if you go to any club, whatever night their wee kids are on, there's normally loads and loads of them. And yeah, it is. Hopefully that's the case. Obviously there are some clubs that don't have as big a numbers as other clubs. That's natural, depending on area and stuff like that there. But yeah, it's like a sea of wee tiny jerseys sometimes.
That's what it is.
And it's class. Like, it's just getting them from that age where they're mad keen about it the whole way up through. So it's kind of getting that longevity, and then as soon as they finish playing, what they do after that to keep themselves involved.
I'm told you're very patient.
Okay.
I like the way you done that. That means who told you that?
Aye.
Are you? As a captain, are you?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, as a captain, yeah, I would think
Are you
so.
demanding as a captain as well as being patient?
I think you have to, when you say demand, you have to hope for a certain level of commitment and everything from every player, I suppose, and work rate and whenever they go out onto a pitch. So yeah, it would be.
As an outsider looking at sport in general, you see people shouting at each other, and obviously they encourage each other on, and they don't always shout the most pleasant things, and they don't always shout.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about the mistake you make. Is that forgotten once the whistle goes?
You try not to do that, but if somebody in the heat of the moment shouted at me, or I shouted at somebody, hopefully it's like a pat in the back and like, didn't mean that or whatever, because you do, some people do, you see emotions rise in a match, like absolutely. Sometimes it feels like it's do or die even though it's just another match, so you can see that, but generally, yeah, the teams are, if they're tight enough knit, then that shouldn't really be an issue, but it's not something that you ever want to nurture. You always want it to be, especially at another age, like this, whenever it could actually have an impact on how they see the sport or how they see you or whatever.
I'm a great believer in general that we are all me more than you because of age, that we're all in competition for those who will influence our children, our grandchildren, our friends' children and all of that. And sometimes the influence can be very negative, and sometimes if you look at some of the stuff that advertisements on TV or advertisements in the press telling people, not always young girls, but telling people what they should look like, how they should, what shape they should be, it can be quite dangerous for young people and all of that. And we're looking across at College the Fierce's pitch, where you're no stranger to.
Yeah.
Are you mindful of the fact, or maybe you don't agree with that, but are you mindful of the fact of the community role that the GAA play within the society, you know, in terms of attracting young people in to do something positive, whether it's training or whether it's...
As in like a role model kind of sense. Yeah, you do. And like 10 years ago or whatever, if somebody said you were a role model, you'd be like, I'm a university here. Like,
yeah, good stuff.
But gradually, whenever you think about, obviously, like, they see you more on social media and stuff like that there, so, and they see about the pitch and things, but I think people have to lead a life. All GAA players have to, otherwise it would be very tough on them, but I think they do have to be mindful of who's looking up to them whenever they're around the pitch. It's even your behaviour on the pitch, like you see the same kind of kids running about. It's normally kids of parents that are up watching matches and things, and they can see what you do and how you act to the referee and stuff, and it's kind of a culture that you want to create, that there's a level of respect there for whoever you're playing against, who you're with, your referee, things like that there. So it is, and it's the whole body image thing as well. You want them to know that they're fueling for performance, not fueling to fit into the smallest size, because that can be detrimental too.
I'm told your favourite away ground is Cavan, is that right?
Clonus.
Sorry,
Clonus. Monaghan. It's lovely.
You and Adele travelling on the bus together. Do you play music as you go along?
We actually, that's just, I love Adele. And just like all my playlists are very random, so I couldn't pick out any sort of music that I like, but sometimes with music on, sometimes we don't. Sometimes you just sit and chat. Sometimes chatting is the best way, because you can nearly psych yourself out. Sometimes you're sitting listening to music that's going to get you all psyched up. But it's good crack on the bus once you get going. We've had some long bus journeys, and
I imagine
so you kind of have to find some way to entertain yourself for 3 or 4 hours.
They must seem longer when you've just lost and you're on your way back.
Yesterday was a long one now, and we didn't even lose.
Tell me about it.
So Division 4, we've been trying to get out of it for a number of years now, and we won our first game, lost our second, and then we had to win the game by at least a point yesterday, and they scored a point in the last minute or so to draw it. So that meant that we don't qualify for the semis. So it was a hard one to take. But like you say, you live to fight another day, don't you?
Well, sometimes I would imagine now, sometimes it maybe motivates people and spurs them on and all of that. Yeah,
I'll get to it. Like, sometimes after defeat you're like, how do you get up and go again? But sometimes you generally always find the will to go again. Even after a number of championship defeats and stuff like that, you're just like, right, the good days will outweigh, whenever you finally get it, it'll outweigh the bad ones. So as long as you take a positive spin on that there, you have to, otherwise your head would go.
I think so. I mean, I would just imagine looking at a calendar and all these days you had to train and all these, and I would go, nah, I'm not.
But we have, we've Ulster Championship coming up, All Ireland Championship, the All Ireland leads to your final, which is Croke Park and things like that. So
and you're a medal winner yourself? Yeah,
we've won it a couple of times. Two.
You're very modest when you say that. I don't think. Yeah, we won it. Yeah.
No, that was great. The first one really kick-started a bit of belief in the county and stuff like that there. Then we got back 3 years later. And then we've been beating the last 2 finals we've made it to, so hopefully we'll take it one step further this year. That's the plan anyway.
I talked a lot and I'm learning a lot, I have to say, in terms of that GAA mentality, if we can use that word, that kind of group and that family, that that bigger than a sport. And you know, Belfast has been without Casement Park for quite a while now. And whole generations of young players have never known that experience. I mean, where I live, I could have heard the roar of the enthusiasm of matches at Casement. Do you think, well, I'm sure like me, you want the thing resolved quickly and Casement up and running quickly, but does that have a detrimental effect, do you think, on Belfast, or that pride you talk about that you have within your own team, your own club, is that missing out of the Belfast mentality?
I was not so much a Belfast, the county mentality. Like, you used to have somewhere to call home, and it was Casement. And like, whenever I was growing up, I played in it a few times, but you always thought that you would be playing in it right up until whatever stage you finished playing. And then, don't even know how long it's been out of action now. Like, too long is right, yeah. But it's nearly, like, the men are now playing in Corrigan. We play a lot of our home games in Davids. But it would be nice to have a stand that you could potentially fill, and even other counties coming to play in Belfast and stuff. Like, it would just, and it might bring, like, if there was a big massive crowd around Casement every Sunday and some wee kid was walking along and didn't really know what it was, surely that there would kind of give them a wee bit of what's that, like a wee bit of intrigue kind of. So yeah, I think it's, and the way it's sitting is just, it's sad to see as well. Like,
well, I mean, again, I keep saying I do not know anything about sport, but that idea, that concept that you have your own home ground, you know, rugby's got it, soccer's got it. Why not? Why not Casement? But hopefully it'll resolve itself quickly.
I'd hope so. Hopefully before I finish.
I think there's a lot of years. I think there's a lot of years new. You talked earlier on there, and I was interested in the way you said it as a kind of a throwaway remark, that GAA players have a life outside of the football. Do you?
You're going to ask me what life I have outside it?
Yeah. What do you? How do you? When you're not training and you're not training somebody else and you're not studying form and you're not in the gym, what do you do?
It depends. See, it's obviously enjoy going out as everybody does, but you just have to pick and choose when you go out, because you couldn't go out the night before a game. You might not even be able to go out the weekend before a game if you're training that Sunday morning. So like, aside from that there, going out for dinner, meeting friends, your usual kind of walking, going away for wee day trips and stuff like that there whenever you actually get a chance to. It's still GA oriented, but going and watching matches, I love that, because then you end up getting chatting to people and seeing what the crack is generally. So the club game started yesterday, and our whole house were away watching under 17 game that my nephew was playing in, and straight up to the pitch to a senior game that the men were playing, you know. So that there was there kind of all day, and I was away in Leitrim, so the whole thing was away. And on Saturday the same, I was up in Congress and they were away. The under 17 county were playing in Armagh, so they were down at that. So yeah, it's all go that way. So if you didn't have something to do, you'd maybe chill out and watch a wee bit of Netflix, but generally there's something to be at.
Do you like other sports? Are you in general a sport person?
I would love to play other sports, but you don't really have time. Like, I'd love, you know, like squash and games that you can maybe, you know, things like that there, that I always talk about taking up squash in the winter, but by the time sometimes your club season finishes and the county season starts, you only have a wee bit till go. But yeah, I would try my hand at any sport and to see how it goes. Like,
I watched an interview, I think it was an RTE, this last couple of nights, and it surprised me a bit, but it won't surprise you, that it was a Camogue who was also a hockey player.
Oh yeah, from Clorine.
Yeah. And I mean, is there that crossover?
It depends where you're living at, because like around about home you'd maybe have to go to Ballymena.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a lot of,
but yeah, in terms of accessibility in smaller rural parishes, I would say there's a good chance if you don't play camogie or football, you might go to soccer. But I suppose in around Belfast you maybe got netball, basketball is probably a big thing, soccer clubs everywhere, so there is a wee bit more choice. But it depends, like the whole multi-sport thing and keeping kids in as many sports as possible whenever they're younger is meant to be really beneficial whenever they're older. But this is only it's not recent kind of info, but it's kind of coming a lot to light to try and get your kid into as many sports as possible. But it goes without saying that it's probably an advantage.
It does, and it makes sense. And it isn't really that long ago. I don't know about outside of Belfast, but it isn't really that long ago that the image of the GAA was drinking pints of Guinness and going out and kicking a ball. But your lifestyle, what you're explaining to me, is a rounded, polished athlete.
That's very generous to say.
Well, I'm saying that because, number one, because to look at you, you're athletic, you're fit, and you're all of that. But also in terms of the volume of training that you have to go through.
Yeah, you couldn't really pint every night.
No.
But okay, yeah, there is a social side to it. Like, no doubt, after a game or a championship win or whatever, you
I'm
will
talking
see
about
a team.
a pint before the match.
Pint before
as
and
it
a
used
cigarette
to be.
at half time.
A cigarette.
No, you definitely wouldn't see that there now. Definitely none of the teams I played with anyway. So you might get the odd person and playing junior football or junior B or you know, something like that, maybe past their time or whatever, but no, it would be rare that there.
I want to ask you briefly about the letter to the Taoiseach that you were instrumental in signing. But before I get to that, and it just go back on this, I asked you earlier on, had life within the GAA changed for women? Has life within the GAA changed for everybody? It's the GAA, you know, you watch training regimes and you see people, you know, local teams, and they're training like professional athletes. They're training like football, soccer stars. Is that where the GAA is heading? Is it heading in a more professional, that you just can't throw the shirt off and go and play a match?
I think
or the shirt on. Sorry, that.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to do that, you wouldn't compete too much at the top for very long, if any, like, because people are training harder because they know the game demands more, and it just seems to be getting better and better. Like the girls' game, the female game's getting fast. The Meath Dublin All-Ireland final last year still sticks out in everybody's mind.
Yeah, it does.
It was brilliant. Like,
better than the men, I have to tell you.
But we had just finished our game, and we went out to have a drink, and then we went back in. But the thing I noticed most about the crowd whenever you're floating around, you know, you float around Dublin, and a number of years ago it would have been a lot of underage teams and, you know, team buses and things like that, but there was a lot of men and older people, and, you know, just it didn't look like everybody's brother or parent or whatever. These were proper Meath and Dublin supporters, and it was great because I was like, they're coming to see their ladies team as much as they would go and see their men's team. So yeah, it's only, there is demands, there's massive demands, but I don't know, if you want to commit to it, then it's kind of part and parcel. Do you want it to get any more? Probably not.
You know, I suppose what you're saying is the more you put in it, the more you'll get out of it, and whatever. Recently, and you won't, this won't come as a surprise. Recently, in respect to an event in Tyrone, some politicians decided that it was open season on the GAA, and they criticised the GAA for having a history. I mean, does that do any damage? Does it prevent the young people we've both talked about gravitating towards their clubs? Does it make a difference to the people already in clubs, or do people just ignore it?
I'm not sure, because
does it hurt you that the GAA is mislabelled by some people?
As in for being...
Well, the allegation that the GAA is sectarian, both politically and religiously, when it's not. I mean, it's clearly not. When
it's not.
You know, you have guards in Dundalk playing for the GAA, and you have ex-prisoners in Antrim or wherever it may be. So it can't be sectarian if it has that diversity.
Yeah, and I sat there, diversity that does kind of leave it open and goes without saying that it is available for everybody. But you're always going to have people that want to knock something good down, and the GAA is an extremely good thing in the country, and for me, I'd be lost without it, and I don't know whether it would have an impact on whether somebody would join or not. because it's not really something that's talked about around home. If you want to play football, you go and
do it,
play.
that's it.
Yeah, so it's not something that's really involved. Yeah.
You talked earlier on, and I meant to pick up on it, you talked about the preparations for going to play a match or turning out to play a match, whether it's a away match or at home, and you need to be careful that you don't out-psych yourself and doing all that. Or are you superstitious? Do you have rigmarole? Do you wear certain clothes and not wear other clothes?
I know. I did, and then I never really said anything. Whenever people ask about
tell us about
stuff,
it, because people.
I just wear my half zip out, or my hat, and I wear it right up until we're about to go. But it was 30-degree heat last summer, and I was still going running about in this half zip, sweating buckets, because I always was like, don't have any superstitions. That's stupid. Like there's no need for them and stuff like that. There, you have your routine that you have, what you eat, what you drink, and time you get up at and things like that for a game at a certain time and stuff. But this was one, and it got pointed out to me a couple of years ago whenever I was like going, no, I don't have anything, and they were like, you do. And then this summer I really nailed it in the head. It was, and I don't know why, I don't know what it is. I think it's coming from being younger and having your number on and covering your number or something, something you maybe heard of an older player one time or something. No idea, but it's very small.
But it's been very lucky for you anyway.
Well, sometimes.
Well, most times. So, you have another 40 years to go before your GAA life.
Yeah.
And then you'll probably do what? Will you go into training, or what will you do? Or
it'll probably be down the coaching line. It's because I'm coaching now, and I'm involved in the Gaelic for Teens. It's an initiative for the LGFA, and that's trying to retain players in that there like 14 to 18 bracket. So that's kind of roughly the age group that I would generally coach and try and get them through, because they come with girls at that age. It is a wee bit harder for them if they're influenced by, if their friends all play football, it's a lot easier for them, but if they don't, it's trying to keep them. So yeah, probably down the coaching side of it. Hope to play for another few years yet. And
I think it's a few years.
Hopefully, touch with injury free and stuff like that there. But I would like to, because as long as you're still fit and healthy and not getting roasted by a 16-year-old, that would be ideal.
Somebody running rings round you.
I know.
Do you holiday? Do you go away there?
Oh, I love holidays. COVID took a hit to that there. So yeah, I definitely have been around and about. I love travelling, like, but I always make it home for.
Are you a home bird?
Again, about 10 years ago, I would have been like, I'm dying to get away, I'm dying to do this step, but I always made it back to Moneyglass.
I have to say, if I lived in Moneyglass, I wouldn't want to go too far. It's a beautiful part of the world.
It's not bad now. It's just the family all live really close by and stuff, and there's nieces and nephews now, and you have to keep.
Who
an eye
needs
on
anyone
them.
else?
That's it. But I'll hopefully get another holiday booked, but we'll see when we can squeeze it in.
I want to ask you just a question, and then we'll ask you another question, which will be your last question.
Dead on.
And I hope it hasn't been too painful for you. And when I was speaking to you the other night, and you just explained to me you just had lost a match. Mm-hmm. Okay. And if it was me, I'd be kicking the television set, I have to say, giving all the training, all the effort, all of that. So when you go home, is there a family analysis of what happened? Do you get away from it?
No, the family know not to speak to me for a while. So you could read me like a book sometimes after a game. If we get beat, it's just let her pain over it for a while, and then I'll maybe rant about it for a wee bit, and then if somebody else tries to throw their 50p in, they'll hear about it. It's generally, because most of them would watch the game, then to throw in the odd wee thing that they maybe thought would have went right or done whatever, but you can't change it either. You can't change what just happened. I suppose it's just changing it for the next game. But no, you're well grounded, so there's no. It's kept very. Yeah. Good win. Get on to the next one.
Leave her, let her sit in the other room.
Yeah, but okay. No, I just yeah.
So, the last question. What's the plans for the future? Don't say more training, please.
More training. I'm not too sure. I've just bought a house, so moving out the home house, and that's the big.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I've actually bought a house just opposite Moneyglass pitch. So my home house is opposite the new pitch where we're building at the minute. So
geographically, you've moved house, or you're in the process of moving from your mother's house to your own house.
Yeah.
So what distance are we talking about here? Round the corner?
You'd probably throw a stone.
Across the field?
About a mile and a half.
That's a long way.
So it's about just up the road and around. So yeah, no, it's everybody's within that kind of wee mile or two radius. And then from there, work's going well. Football wise, play as long as I can. Hopefully stick in with the coaching side of it, and who knows, just as long as I'm enjoying it, then I'll probably stick to whatever. Yeah, you know, like no grand plans until something goes wrong.
Well, that's the secret. That's the secret of life.
Yeah.
So, Cathy, for being a wonderful guest,
Thanks
for
very much for
travelling the
having
whole
me.
way up,
The whole way up.
and good luck for the future, and good luck on International Women's Day.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.